Welcome to Second Act Podcast. As always, my name is Justin Sims and we have Michael Stone, but today we have a very special guest. We have someone that's running for President of the United States. You heard that correctly. You don't meet people like this often, so we're very blessed to have Christin Powers as our guest today. So we're going to try to jump into the mind of someone that's trying to tackle such a huge thing. Christin, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time. I apologize for being late, but it's great to be here.
There is no time.
All right.
So,
awesome.
Let me start by asking the question that's on everybody's mind.
Sure.
What makes someone wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm going to run for president?
Okay. Well, basically, I had already been awarded by federal, state, and local officials that were already elected, both Democrat and Republican in New York, for work I had done for the troops, and I had sent books over to the Middle East 4 times, and I had been to Walter Reed Medical Center. One specific day that I went there to hand books bedside to the troops, that was the morning that Gabrielle Gifford was shot in Arizona. So on my ride back from that, I thought, dang, if they're going to go after a female elected official, I'm just going straight to the White House. I'm not even going to try to run for local office. Plus, my story was already national. I had lived in Michigan, Ohio, Florida, California, and New York. 3 parts of Florida now with my current location in Jupiter. So I made the decision, basically about 4 hours after she was shot, and I had looked into the eyes of injured troops that had served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I had discussions with gentlemen that were considering whether or not they were going to have amputations or bedside with their families. I looked into the eyes of different troops that had nystagmus, which is a sign of an upper motor neuron injury, which is a brain injury. I saw PTSD, gentlemen cowering in the corner. And this is years after I had already received about 32 photographs back from the Middle East in under 9 months for my first project.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a long time coming.
So something like that has to change you when you're that intimately close with such traumatic things. That has to change a person.
Yeah.
And for you, it made you want to go even further, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel unstoppable. Like, I just went to Mexico Beach this last weekend. I took a photographer with me, John Sessa.
Which is where the hurricane recently just plowed him, huh?
Plowed him. I mean, we were
flattened them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the pictures are.
Yeah, we took 400 photographs last.
So you were on
Friday
the ground there last week.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and Tyndall Air Force Base. We drove in through Tyndall, and there were houses that were completely removed from the ground, and there were boats where the cars should have been and cars where the boats should have been.
Wow, so they've switched spots, and when you say moved houses, like you mean like literally picked up off the foundation and moved with the water?
Or disintegrated. Like the homes, they were just literally were shredded wood everywhere. So my point to you is that I have like an unstoppable mindset after going through other stories as well in my life that we'll cover later. But for right now, what I want you to know is I did not shed a tear when I was in Mexico Beach. The photographer was crying. He was crying because he couldn't believe it. I wasn't crying because I just said, if I were in the White House right now, I would have gotten to the bottom of this climate change already as a scientist.
So you were thinking solution?
Yes. I was thinking solution. We need to restore this area. We need to rebuild this area now, not yesterday.
What would have been the solution there, though? Like, I mean, I'm a pretty normal guy. I don't know what the solution would have been. Like, what do we do? Like, build up a dike or something? Like, what's?
No, I mean, I want to get to the bottom of the strength of the hurricanes. I'm a little baffled about how they are really becoming that strong.
Yeah, they seem stronger every year.
Yeah, these are superstorms, and they look like they're stronger even than Cat 5. Because when the people went to sleep that night, they thought they were going to get just a mild hurricane, and it ended up being just 2 levels below a 5, 2 grades below, however they measured that, and then it ended up looking like it was actually, to me, like,
so they go to sleep thinking there's
charts.
A 3, and they wake up to a 5.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, I met one business owner. She had 4 little seaside shops, and she said, this is insane. She was waiting for an insurance adjuster. We saw FEMA on the ground, but they were on their phones.
So the actual workers are sitting there on their phones?
FEMA.
Instead of helping people?
Yeah, like
Government workers.
Yeah.
It's the government.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and then one dignitary did come in with sirens and that sort of thing. I'm not sure who it was, and I didn't chase him down. That's one regret I have from last week, and I should have just went and saw if that was Rick Scott or whatever. Now, regarding Rick Scott, the people that I did meet with did say they were happy with how quickly the roads were cleared. My Waze app took me all the way around through Tyndall Air Force Base, so I could not come in through St. Joe. So all of those roads must have been blocked.
All of those inside roads of the town.
Yeah, but I was just like, and I was talking to John about it on the way home. We drove 400 miles to get there, 400 miles to get back, and we took t-shirts up there for Panama City because I used to work for a chronic pain doctor.
You lived there, yeah.
Yep, in Panama City. I worked with severely addicted people in a neurological clinic there for a year as a physical therapist.
Now, when you say addicted, you mean addicts?
Yeah, they were addicts.
Drug addicts.
Well, some were drug addicts. They got drug tested every time they went into him to get specific shots throughout their spine.
Oh, wow. To make sure that they weren't misusing the situation.
Yeah, and if they weren't allowed to come back.
You need that for accountability of the patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they were allowed certain drugs. He was allowed to prescribe Oxycontins and that sort of thing. But they had to be off other drugs in order to be seen by him.
So if you came in and popped positive for coke, you're out.
Yeah, and they're not going to give me a different drug,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It makes sense, and the same type of thing happens in treatment centers to make sure that everybody's following the suit, is following the code.
I'm interested. What are they doing about the hurricane mess? I haven't heard one thing about. Have you seen anything?
Well, let me ask you this too, because I've seen videos that like HARP, that HARP can control weather. I don't know the validity of it, but also the global warming is another like part of it increasing strength-wise, right?
There's also NOAA, NOAAH or NOAAH. I have to double check that, but they're the ones that actually follow the storms.
Okay.
They're a government entity that follows.
Are they the ones that are in
storms.
charge, like the planes that fly into the eye and stuff and get the information?
Honestly, I don't even know. I just know if I had to go there quickly to get information, I would go there. I'm not paid to do this. Like, I've underwritten all of my own projects right now. So I go as far as I'm curious, and then I know what, the education and the push that I have and what I'm trying to pull off, in the national media right now, with the national media right now. And the best thing I could do was just throw a photographer in the car and go up there and document it.
All right, let me ask you two quick questions that I think our viewers want to know, and I want to know too.
Sure.
One would be, if you walked into the White House today and you were the POTUS, what would be the first 5 things you would do?
Okay. The first, number one thing I would do is I would sign an executive order for IgG, food antibody testing for all Americans. It's a one-time blood test that will give you a printout on how your particular blood reacts to 300 foods moderately.
For the individual.
It's custom, yeah. It's
Wow.
for the individual, yeah. So I'm not worried about free healthcare for every single thing under the sun. I'm worried about that one free test, because that one free test will revolutionize how we eat, how we do pharmaceuticals, how we grow food, who we feed a certain percentage of this food and that sort of thing. It will inspire everyone because they will be educated with one piece of practical knowledge.
About them. It would be individualized awareness.
Right.
About this is what's going on with my particular body.
100%,
Interesting.
100%. And it will definitely, it'll help curb, not cure, but it's going to help curb allergies, symptoms to neurological diseases, anxiety, aggression, behavioral issues, bipolar, food
Probably
allergies.
catch a lot of things too, like catch early diabetes, catch certain things, cancers when they're before they're far. Like my father didn't know he had cancer until it was stage 4. So things like, that's a great idea. What else? Like, what would be number 2?
Okay, number 2 is I would shift federal budget spending. We spend $450 billion annually on the Department of Transportation, and we spend almost $500 billion annually on the Department of Defense. Yet our teachers and our VA only get about mid-60 billion each per year. So that's a magnitude of 10 times larger. So
that's
I would
very
shift,
lopsided, it
right?
seems. Yeah, sure.
So I don't think we have to raise taxes. I think we have to shift the spending.
Kind of even it out.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I get a little bit, but not much. Like, I don't want to be taken as, she's anti-war, she's anti-military. No, that's how I got my start, was by writing books with kids in neighborhoods.
Yeah, helping vets.
Yeah, helping vets from the beginning. Back in 2003 is when I started that. So, and I made local news back then and print news and that sort of thing. So That's the main thing I would want to do right away is take a look at those numbers because our VA can.
How do
our
we
VA's
pick
campus center.
the defense and the transportation as the two
Well, they're the
to
largest
take from?
because they're the largest.
They have the largest amounts of money.
They're the largest. Like our
Makes
SBA,
sense.
our Small Business Administration only gets $7 million a year. Like the
Right.
mom and pops doing stuff like this, working our butts off to produce things. To go get money or a fund or a grant to do this, that's the smallest amount of money in America. Why would that be? Right? And then we have a Department of Defense that's $500 billion.
Yeah, that's
We're
so lopsided.
Right. So there's a huge range in all of
It
these
seems like
agencies.
there's potholes all over the place.
Yeah, right? And then it's not even like for that amount of money, it should be like better than what it
doing with
is.
$500 billion? I want to see it.
Yeah, what are they? Somebody's got a good salary.
I drove to Minnesota. Me and Debbie drove to Minnesota.
Couple
The
months
roads
back.
are fucking 40 years old. None of that shit's been spent money on all the way there.
Well, I mean, look at the bridges around here. I mean, there's certain
What are they
exits
doing?
that
Where
I'm
is-
waiting to exit off of 95, and I feel the bridge shaking. And I'm going,
Yeah.
this is kind of scary.
They haven't
Yeah.
fixed shit.
Yeah, so that's the second thing. So I would really start to shift the money around.
I like it.
I would meet with governors because they're, roads in different states have different issues.
Sure.
We're on top of a giant aqueduct. We're on sand. Our roads are very
But
sensitive.
this is something that
and-
Trump talked about, though. He talked about the infrastructure
Yeah, they haven't done shit.
failing, and then nothing's happened. But he talked about it. But I mean, I talk about
No.
things.
But I would go in and get it done. Like I work quickly. If you go to my website, I've got more stuff on my website that I would do immediately, like you're asking, than he's done in almost 2 years already. That's just how I'm wired.
Well, so far, those first two, I'm in.
Cool.
They seem reasonable to
They're
me.
totally. All right, so what would be 3?
Number 3 is I would work, first of all, respectfully, really super respectfully, with the female press agents, the female news agents, the ABC, NBC, CBS. I would look to see if females could be put in charge of ABC, NBC. Some of the late night people need to be females. We need more women, and we don't need a derogatory jerk, like just going face to face and slamming down women that are questioning him and calling out truth.
And not being very tactful with how he responds either. So you're saying like a gender shift in power.
Well, the thing is we've had 45 male presidents. If you go to my website, powers2020.com, I quote all 45
Yeah,
male
I've seen that.
presidents.
There's certain like historic quotes. Some of them are not like famous, but really interesting.
Yeah, they're all great. They're all great. But then I put my name at the bottom, even though I'm not elected yet. And I say it's about time. I mean, how could we have 45 men running this country and not one woman in a country that, in our main gist of our Constitution, is to promote equality
And
There's
innovativeness
nothing-
and all this stuff. I mean,
Right.
some of it makes sense as far as historically, like as dark of a history as it is, but like women weren't allowed to vote till what, the 20s?
Yeah.
So it's like before that, it makes sense why there wasn't, because that's just the world we lived in. But I agree with you that, we like to think that we're so innovative and our mindset's so evolved, but really we're not in so many areas.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the third thing. I would like literally get in there and just I would. It's not like I'm like 100% all like we need to take the power away from men. I'm about strengthening men and keeping men masculine and moving forward and powerful. But the women, though, we are such creative thinkers and so many times, and we are built to create and change. Men, in many regards, do not think twice about destroying or destructing things and then rebuilding. Where we need to bring a little bit more of the flavor of the woman into
balance
our
it out.
leadership positions. Yeah, to definitely balance it out. I mean, I went so far on Facebook a couple days ago, I ticked off my photographer because I'm like, why can't we just make a law that says we're going to have 45 female presidents right now? And then see where we're at after 45 females. I mean,
Just as a social experiment to see where we're
Yeah.
at after we have 45 women presidents.
yeah, it's a little insane. It should be who is qualified and all of
Agreed.
that, but it also should be who is the character and the education developed. I can outthink circles around Trump. I could outrun him. If I would have got on the debate stages in 2016, he never would have won. He never would have
He's
won.
got 2 things on you.
What's that?
He's more orange,
Yes, a little bit.
and he has more money.
Yeah.
But
But he's not worth more than me. I've sued in the Supreme Court for $75 billion.
Wait, you said you're suing or you've sued?
I have sued in the Supreme Court media companies, 15 media companies, for not telling my story or for ripping me off. And it's still kind of, I'm going to be getting another attorney this week, like I'm working with other people right now, because the court is now finally whole with the appointment of Kavanaugh again. Justice Scalia died within 10 days of me filing an extraordinary lawsuit.
Do you think that was a coincidence?
No,
Okay.
I don't. I do not at all.
Which court is it in now?
It was denied in the Supreme Court in D.C.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter. I'm going back at it, and I'm going to write them again because it's worth more than Obama, Trump, and Clinton combined, all of their net worths.
Do you believe you're going to be able to get some kind of repercussion back?
I hope. Yeah. I mean, I want it all. And at one point in the suit, I even had said in the suit, if this is delayed or not awarded, then the price needs to go up, and it should be worth $100 billion by now.
So you said that you're 15 companies.
It's one way to get money.
That's a hell of a way to do it. But she said 15 companies. And the reason was for not telling your story.
Right.
And
they weren't fully informing the people that I existed.
And the other is for stealing your stuff, right?
Right.
That's what you said?
It wasn't for copyright infringement. It was for privacy rights.
Okay.
They were in my business.
Can you? I mean, without obviously you can't go too in depth about that. I'm sure, but I mean, talk to me like I'm 5 years old.
Okay.
What does that mean? Like, you're infringing on my private. You're stealing. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
The Ninth and 10th Amendments are huge about privacy rights.
Okay.
And every citizen of the United States should have a. So one of the companies I went after was Samsung. They are now claiming they're going bankrupt because
Samsung's going bankrupt?
They knew, that's what they had told me when I called. Yeah, right. So it was basically when they, when I just knew they knew when I was in my house. My TV was that smart. They could follow me from side to side in the room. It was just bizarre things that went on that were witnessed by just more than myself.
But the average person's on film now, like
wait, I have Samsung.
If it's a newer one, watch out.
So they could spy on you. But what I'm getting to is they say the average
are.
person now is on film without their knowledge, like 15 times a day, like intersections, stuff like that, banks, whatever, cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
but this goes back.
So could I sue them for that? Like, you're recording me without my permission.
Well, when you're in the public eye, and you're a publicly recognized, celebrity or whatever, you've gotten to that point, you pay that much in PR, then no, there
should be a protection around that.
It's for private citizens. And I make that point as well in the suit. Is like, I am a private citizen. I'm trying to rise up, and here I knew this movie came out, and this is after my son, and this is after my daughter, and this is when we were living in California, and then this happened. I was in the Paris salon, and then Paris is being attacked within minutes after.
So you're saying that that incidences situations would occur in your life or your family's life, and then there'd be a paradoxal situation happening
same day,
world news-wise, nationally,
global news,
that they were taking from your life.
Music, movies, and world global news.
All right, so to make me understand this and the viewer understand this, give me a couple examples of like crystal clear, like you were like, they stole this.
Well, I was in the Manhattan salon. I was in the Paris salon in Manhattan, across the street from NBC Studios. I was getting hair people ready in case I had to ride the train in from Long Island and go in. So I'm like, okay, I need a hair person here. I'm like, okay, I'll stop in at this Paris salon. Within minutes of me leaving, it was the name of it was Paris Salon. It was trending on Twitter, and I have the receipt. It's from September or October, Friday the 13th of 2 years ago. That Paris was attacked, where 300 people died. It's in my lawsuit.
While you're getting your hair done at Paris.
Yeah.
It's called Paris.
So I went back the next week. They had changed the name of the salon, yet the receipt still read Paris Salon, but they changed the sign out front. That was direct facts.
To something completely different.
Yeah, different name.
Okay, that's
new
weird.
owner too. New owner.
That's interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been in it. I mean, okay, here's another thing. I have a grandmother who's passed away now, her name was Florence. Florence just hit the Carolinas. I have a nephew named Harvey. Harvey was Hurricane Harvey. Harvey's father's name is Matthew. Hurricane Matthew hit same year. They've just been. I have a brother.
So you're at the point when you look at all this and you go, "There's no way this is all coincidental."
No, it's beyond. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I don't believe in it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I believe that I am literally driving much of our media. I believe I'm driving a lot of our artificial intelligence. I believe that when Trump says the news is fake, he means it because he knows about me. I've been in his buildings. I wrote a book called Smart Girl Runs, and So
when Trump says the news is fake, he's referring to because you're pinching off of this lady's life.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Billions of dollars. Even Disney, Warner Brothers, you name it.
So Disney, you're saying Disney's taken too.
Yeah.
What is Disney taking? Give me a couple examples.
Okay, the two big ones that everybody can just try to shoot holes in it, but I know who I am and I know where I was when certain things happened. I was at Blackbeard Beach. I had an agent that used to work for the taxi production years ago, and I was in Blackbeard Beach on San Diego, California back in 1996. And we had an emergency room visit because my husband fell on a rock off of a small cliff. Radcliffe, Daniel Radcliffe is the stage name for the Harry Potter. My husband, we have a picture in the ER of my husband getting a lightning bolt stitched
It was in that image though? It was in that? Wow.
Yeah, over my husband's eye. And he's gushing blood. It's documented in the hospital. And then my son ended up going blind in one eye as a result of him hitting his head on the back of my husband's head when my husband fell on this rock at the side of this cliff.
Oh, wow.
So you put things together, you're like, oh my God, how many billions of dollars were made off the Harry Potter? About two dead parents watching this boy from the other side make it in life as a wizard, yada, yada, yada. So and my son was a baby at the time, and then that kind of all that stuff started those books started coming out when he was about 8 years old, and he grew up with that. I mean, he was Potterhead. He grew up with all the whole thing, and then I wrote Disney, and I said to Disney, I said, look, I wrote a book called Smart Girl Runs. It's about how a little skinny kid could not walk or talk because I've had surgery on both my feet and my mouth, but I can run for president. I can't run anymore. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk. From 2 surgeries, but I can still run for president of the United States. I'm like, let's do a story about Smart Girl Runs. We'll alleviate all the college debt from all the profits, and we will, that's how I'll break into the news. They're like, oh, no way, you can't solicit us. We can only solicit you. I even talked to an attorney there. You can't solicit us. We can only solicit you. I said, I'm my own agent. I can solicit whoever I want. I'm allowed to do that.
How come you can't and I can't?
Right. Exactly. And so instead they pumped out Frozen the next year about 2 women, a blonde, tall woman that leaves her town, goes and becomes the ice queen, comes back and saves her sister, and I am the tall blonde, and I have a small sister with brunette hair. I mean, it's just like, I'm not that whole myth, but the timing was like, okay, she wanted to do Smart Girl, and and they had already pumped out The Incredibles, that movie, a couple of those, and they've got Rick or Dicker in that movie, one of the characters, right? My husband's name is Rick. I mean, there's just...
And his nickname is Dicker. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well,
Slick Rick, we call
him. Let me ask you this question, too, and I think probably some people watching are probably thinking the same thing I am. Okay, this is all really interesting.
Right.
But why you? Mm-hmm. Why did they go, we're going to steal from her life? Mm-hmm. Why not Mike's life? Why not Sam's life?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, okay, this is really cool. This is really key. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, okay, and I was a rescue. I was rescued from a house fire 10 days before I was born. My mother was carried out of a second-story window.
Okay, so pregnant woman carried out of a fire.
Yeah.
You were the baby and the woman.
Right.
Okay.
So I could have been, number 1, I could have been aborted. It was, one of those kind of rushed scenarios. And number 2, I could have died in that fire. Number 3, my tongue swelled up. I had a cyst. I could have been mute my whole life. Number 4, my grandfather was a prominent minister in Detroit that was a very blue state. We never talked politics growing up because we were a spiritual family, but yet now that I look back, it was very blue, it was very democratic. And I didn't know. I grew up on Fox News in a Christian home, so I thought I was Republican and right-wing when I was like 18, 19, 21.
So you were just going with what you knew? What I was
learning from the news. I was letting the news groom what I knew instead of really, it takes time to learn politics. It takes time. So, and then I graduated from the University of Michigan Flint with a healthcare degree, 2 degrees, math, science, and physical therapy. I've done autopsies on 6 bodies, head to toe, every part of the body.
That's gross.
So I know I'm the best answer, and I did whatever I could to live a great life. And then what struck and why I did not want the Clintons back in is because they caused the North American Free Trade Agreement to bankrupt Detroit. It took 20 years, but it was signed into law the year I was married. So I was like a poster child of married to an automotive husband of, oh, how are they going to make it?
And then just, wow.
So New York City's like, nope, here's the news. Detroit sucks, Detroit sucks, Detroit sucks. Sorry, keep
My
working,
fear
keep moving.
for you.
How is Detroit doing now?
Detroit is coming back nice. They are, the city itself downtown is extremely clean. The Lions are downtown. It's very, all the money's going into the inner city for sports. It's always been that way. I went back there a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I took one of my campaign managers, James Murat, there. We stayed in the General Motors Towers. And I drove him up to Flint. I drove him to meet my father, and I drove him, we went all around inner city Detroit. Walk around, no problem. No problem. And, I showed him how I campaign, how I shake hands, how I say, hey, I'm running for U.S. president. I'm from here originally, yada, yada, yada. And it's doing well enough to where it's very Orwellian there. Like, it's very, like, the people there are just kind of apathetic and just dreamlike, and they're just sweet, pure people. They're not like New Yorkers. They're not like West Paul. They're not harsh. They're not, they work hard. They build the cars. They are, they go to work every day.
But they're optimistic.
So there's more cars now being built there than there was after Clinton, I'm thinking.
Well, what happened was, the way it goes is that the North American Free Trade Agreement took 20 years to literally crush Detroit. So that, and the point of that agreement was to force jobs into Canada and Mexico. So they took our jobs. So when Detroit went down, Ohio went down.
There was a ripple effect.
Vegas went bankrupt. Kentucky went bottom up as well. A lot of the states that were building certain parts of the cars, but not, known for General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler.
Right, the different branches that break down from that industry.
The assembly plants, those states also suffered. And I was living proof of that. That's why I did not want Hillary Clinton in there. So in 11 and 12, I ran Republican. In 15 and 16, I ran Democratic. And by the end of 16, I was begging Obama for an endorsement. I'm like, Hillary can't even walk straight anymore. I'm watching footage of her. She can't even walk straight. Put me up. Just endorse me. Get me on the stages. And Obama really dropped the ball there because he could have done that. What he did do is he flew to Flint, which is where I graduated college, and with healthcare degrees, and there the people are being poisoned with their water. So he wrote me a lengthy letter and said, look, Christin, I'm enacting all these agencies, and that's what he did for me instead.
Are they still being poisoned? What is it? How'd that go? They
still
still have the water
It's
issue?
still not completely remedied.
It's crazy.
Now let me ask you this. So you've ran twice. How far did you get? Did you get it on the ballot anywhere?
No, I did not get on the ballot in either election. This is why. I called every state board of election myself. Every state is different, and they can even change their requirements right up to the month before, okay?
So that makes it really hard.
It's insane. So the state of Arkansas, where the Clintons are from, the ballot fee alone was $15,000. Okay, some states
just to have your name on it.
So you either have to raise the money or you have to pay the money.
So you gotta think $15,000 times 50. That's a lot of.
But that was the most expensive state.
Okay.
Okay, some of the states are free, but you have to have signatures. Some of the states are only 3,000. Some of the states are only 5,000 or 7,000. Some of
That's
the states,
doable. Those are doable numbers.
Yeah, and I'm going to pay this time around. I will pay. I will pull the money out. Like I just pulled the money out for Executive Powers, my TV show. I will pull the money out to be on the ballots this time around.
So this time you're coming in harder than you had before.
This is it. I'm doing it now, and this is it. I mean, I've been at this a long time.
What's number 3?
For
what did we get? Your number 3. You got. First was what?
First was the shot. For everybody.
Number 2 was defense and
blood draw.
transportation.
No. The second one was equaling out the lopsided budget.
Oh, and then the women was that the
Then
women news, women news, working with.
So we're on 4 then.
Okay, so number 4 would be, essentially, number 4 is analyzing the superstorms, holding the scientists accountable for doing whatever they can to deter the superstorms, bringing those down, the intensity down of the storms. A lot of people in Florida are very concerned about sea level rise, and the melting of the icebergs. That would be my number 4, is to get to the bottom of that science and to,
because somebody's got to figure it out quick. We're running out of time.
Right. So we're not going. So that's number 4. Number 5. Did you want 5?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
All right, and number 5.
Because your first 4 are hard.
Yeah, and then number 5 would be to tackle the issue of abortion and not let it be a last-minute way that women are used in the press from a negative standpoint, and a perseverative and obsessive standpoint by the press. So I want to be able to stand up there and say, I'm for life and I'm for choice. Okay, I'm for the baby to live. I believe that the baby, as soon as it's conceived, is a baby. And I'm for the mom and dad that get that baby in that situation on both sides. I'm not for just the mom or against the dad or against the mom. Decisions get made, things happen. I'm for that baby that's about to be born. But what I want to say to the women that feel like they need the choice, I'm like, yes, you can have the choice to end the life of the baby, but it is murder in my opinion. I would not legislate against it and tell a woman they could never not have an abortion. But what I would say is, please consider anything other than an abortion and get the baby to term. And there's plenty of mothers in America that want children.
Sure, that can't have them.
That can't handle it.
sounds sensible to me.
But
but it
has to come from a woman.
That's always such. I think it would come
That's
from
my
a woman
stance on the
better.
whole thing. I think it's murder, but I'm not going to tell you can't.
Yeah, it's
do
your
it.
body. I mean, it's always been such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, and I'd love to have you come in more, and we can, with more time, we'll do her life like we do a lot of guests. How can someone follow you? Like, how can, go ahead and plug, how we can keep tabs on you.
Okay, well, the best thing to do is to go to powers2020.com.
Oh, it's right behind you.
Okay, now it's reversed. Okay, so the website is Powers and then the 2020.
So the number comes after.
Powers 2020.
Powers2020.com. Please, I'm begging you, I'm begging anybody that sees this, go to that website and implore that people donate $5. My goal is to have every single American woman donate $5. If I can have every woman under the sun donate, if we have 8 million if we just have 8 million women in America donate $5, that's $45 million. If I have $45 million or $40 million, anything in that range, okay, I will win. I will win.
Yeah, then you could really fight.
I will win. If I have, and we're going to look more at this in 2019. If I have just all the first-time girl voters, I think that's actually where we got the 18 million, the 8 million from. There's going to be the first-time voters in 2019.
So in that age of 18 to 22
Yes.
that have never been able to legally vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the girls that are really coming up and really want to have a stronghold and be great professionals and that sort of thing, they want to be a part of my life. They are going to get great direction from me. I'm a mom of 4 parents. I've had 2 girls. I've had 2 boys. I've seen it all.
Perfect
Public
balance.
school, parochial school, and homeschool. I've done it all. So in 4 states. Okay, so I've seen all of the schools. I've been in these public schools, and I've just done. I mean, that's how I got started with these children's book projects that went over to the Middle East.
What about Facebook? How can
Facebook? Okay, I'm doing Facebook Live right now. I'm committed to doing Facebook Live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m. Some days I look like I rolled right out of bed, and that ticks off one of my other photographers. He's like, you need to look presidential. I'm like, no, I don't. I need to look real to these people and show them that I can look like
I'm
this,
a human being,
but I actually think straight, and I'm educated.
And on Facebook, she's Christin Powers Campaign.
Yes.
So you can follow her that way. What about Twitter?
Twitter is Christin for POTUS. So it's basically spelled Christin. It's CHRISTIN, the number 4. POTUS. POTUS is President of the United States. Christin for POTUS. And then Instagram is I have 2 Instagrams, Christin Powers Campaign and Christin.Powers.
So those are all good ways to keep tabs on what she's doing, because this is one of the busiest people you're ever going to encounter. Trust me. I'm a busy guy, and I look at her and I get tired. So
I want to just say a little bit of an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, there's kind of a weird thing going on where I'm like, would just suggest kind of leave out kind of the other stuff about the salon and all the stuff that like is leading you to think you're going to be president? Because your views and your shit you want to do sounds fucking perfectly reasonable to me. But you need to leave out the other shit that like sounds fucking nuts to people.
Michael Stone, never holding punches.
Okay, the reason why
that shit sounds reasonable to me for a president, especially.
Right, like the first 5 things.
I'd fucking vote for her.
Like the first 5 things that she said, like I don't think in my mind I could have imagined a better answer. I was like, damn, that's that too. Well, shit, where do I vote?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, I'll leave it out. I'm just, when I'm talking that way, I'm talking to other media people that are in the world. They know how things are created. They know things how are produced and stuff like that. So I'm just being real. I'm being honest. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I say just leave it out for the normal person. Yeah. Don't even bring any of that shit
well,
up.
I think too. About what I think there's a good point there, Mike, because
I hear it all
like
the time.
even me trying to go,
You're right.
all right, this is like it's so much information that I'm like.
What?
How is the average person gonna place it all to piece it together?
Okay, that's not.
You know?
That stuff is not on the website.
Okay.
That stuff is in the lawsuit. So in
don't
order
bring any of the lawsuits.
in order for more of it to stop, and for me to get control over my privacy,
you do have to
I had to take it to them and say, look, I know what's going on. This is not.
And I hope you know for your super objective that you get what you're owed, because that will give you the means to have the platform that you need.
I'm not against the companies. I want the companies to improve. I just think if they're going to be American companies, they need to stand for our constitutional rights. They should have solicited them.
Justice is justice.
And
what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong.
That's how I feel.
Period.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned
come back.
What's that?
I'd say come back.
Oh, we have to have her back. We have to have her back because we have to do what we've done for other guests, where we start at the beginning of the timeline and we just go through her life because her life is interesting and our viewers are going to want to know more after seeing this.
Sure.
But real quick before we get off, you had mentioned that you have a TV show coming out. Tell us.
Yeah, sure. I just spent a chunk of change on a TV show called Executive Powers. It's a parody, it's a political parody about my life, and the whole point of the show is to show how there is not anyone in this country that could not have a part on this campaign. From A to Z, Democrat, Republican, Independent, the wackos, the smart...
The low man, the high man.
The low man, the high man. The Justin the waiter, he plays a role in the show.
I believe it, because, I'm right. I'm on the right side of center, but she says reasonable fucking shit to me.
Listen, we're at the point in this country where I think it doesn't matter what jersey you're wearing.
Yeah.
If the shit makes sense, like you're saying, and we need solutions,
Yep.
Common sense, man.
then that's what we need.
That's
it doesn't matter what you think on every issue or what I think on every issue. We have the common thing of we need help right now,
Yeah.
and the time is now.
Right.
More to be coming.
So Executive Powers, look out for it.
Yeah, so the TV show's going to be out. It's dropping. I'm getting the final edits back on Monday this week. We've got some insane footage where we have a beautiful view of a home that we work out of on Jupiter Island, and it's just gorgeous. And then it goes into this hilarious rapping music video.
So you're gonna laugh, you're gonna
It's
be
just so
intrigued,
funny.
you're gonna learn something, and maybe when we have you back in the next couple weeks, we can play the trailer
Yeah.
on the back.
I got a couple trailers, I got a couple music videos, and then I've got a 26-minute film. And so we're looking for investors on that. I wanted to already kind of film part of it down here and part of it on the Supreme Court steps. I may do something stunty and ride a horse in front of the Supreme Court or into the Supreme Court. So if there's any horse people out there that really want to get behind me, I want to
be part of a film.
That's kind of a stunt that
Oh, and what
That's
was
some Paul Revere shit right
It's
there.
gonna end badly though.
Well, what was the horse?
Maybe not. She might get a ticket. Oh, you didn't park your horse correctly.
No, we're gonna get permits. We'll get permits for
Yeah,
that.
hey, there you go. You get permits to ride the horse up. They can't touch her then.
There you go.
Guys, listen, we've got every kind of guest on this show. We've had UFC fighters. We've had survivors. We've had award-winning filmmakers, award-winning musicians, award-winning actors, presidential candidates, hopefully presidents.
Yes.
There you go.
Stay
100%.
tuned. Second
Thank
Act
you.
Podcast. We'll be back another time with Christin Powers. You won't want to miss it.
All right.